The following is a presentation of the Pro Wrestling Report. Informative, entertaining, and real since 1998.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Pro Wrestling Report, Primetime Wednesday night. We've got a special in-depth this week. We're going to be taking a look at the characters of professional wrestling and why characters are important to professional wrestling. That coming up right here, right now on the Pro Wrestling Report, Primetime Wednesday night. Primetime Wednesday night. Damian Nelson sitting here alongside David Hero, and let's go into this week's.
You were going to say something else because the way your mouth was formed was not David Hero.
I was going to say Brodus Clay, but then I realized that would be somewhat of a compliment, so I didn't say it.
Wow, Brodus Clay.
Yeah, funk is on a roll. I mean, you've danced.
He's got some funkadactyls.
Let's go to this week's in-depth segment, and it's one where we want to take a moment to take a look at characters. Characters in professional wrestling. And there have always been characters in professional wrestling, but as of late, WWE has been focusing on some additional characters and talents, if you will, that are there just simply to reach out to a certain demo or a certain fraction of the WWE audience, whether it be children, whether it be a particular ethnic group, or whether it be a particular age group. And we want to just talk by name of some of those people and talk about why they're so important, or could be so important to the overall landscape of professional wrestling and or WWE. And the first person, I think, is the person we just got done talking about a minute ago, Brodus Clay. Funk is on a roll. People hate it. Let's go back to when Brodus first came out.
The first 45 seconds, I just cringed.
Yeah.
I was like, are you kidding me? They took this monster and they made him into Barney? Right? I mean, but he's far better than Barney. He really is, because Barney didn't have funkadactyls quite like that.
Right.
I mean, you know, characters in wrestling are important. If you go back into the, you know, the classic era of the 80s, when you had guys like Hillbilly Jim, George the Animal Steel, Bobby the Brain Eater, Captain Lou Albano, Sherry Martel, even Luna Vachon, characters in wrestling. Those, even Hulk Hogan, those people may not be getting jobs today in the current John Laurinaitis, Triple H era of talent development, because they don't fit that mold. Mm-hmm. And the characters of yesteryear in the 80s and even the 90s were so important for the fans to get that getaway from real life.
An escape.
An escape. They don't have that today. So guys like Brodus Clay, he's a feel-good moment on the show. I mean, how can you not smile when Brodus Clay comes out?
There's a disco ball and
does
everything.
The dance, the music
Ladies and
the music is fun, it's enjoyable, and it takes away from the reality-based that has now become pro wrestling.
But it does something else as well, too. As a booker, when you book an overall show, it's a journey that you take people on over the course of that broadcast. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you need a Brodus Clay kind of matchup or a Doink kind of matchup to soften or re-energize the audience.
If you look at WrestleMania with The Rock and John Cena, and they had a fantastic match with CM Punk and Jericho, and they had Triple H and Undertaker. What was the buffer between that and the main event? It was Brodus Clay and the Dancing Mamas.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
And that was just to rejuvenize the crowd, to pump some energy and life back into the, 70,000 people that were there?
Yeah. Yep.
And that's needed. It's important. It's needed for the break. I posted on my Facebook page earlier in the week.
You're on Facebook?
Oh, I'm on Facebook. And just about the lack of characters in pro wrestling. And someone messaged and said, oh, I'll take Chris Hero versus Seth Rollins any day of the week, or Eddie Edwards any day of the week over Andre the Giant. Let me tell you, I will take Andre the Giant's paycheck and his legend over those two guys or those three guys any day of the week, because at the end of the day, 93,000 people bought tickets to see Andre the Giant.
But a pure wrestling fan would definitely want to see such great athletes in a wrestling matchup.
But you still want to be entertained. We're going to go off track.
What if they're entertained by that
Listen, we're going to
wrestling?
go off track for a minute, but that's what happens once in a while here. Online, we can do this. When you're watching a pro wrestling match, I don't care if they botch. What's that?
Botch?
Yeah, where they make a mistake.
When we sit at home and say they make a mistake and we don't know what they're doing and have never done it, they botched.
Well, here's the thing. If you're in a fight with somebody, right, is the fight fluid?
Well, when I am.
You know what I mean?
I
People
crack.
trip, people fall, they stumble, the whole thing.
Weave gets pulled out.
Exactly. And in a wrestling match, I want to see that. I want to believe that it is real. You know, I don't want to see everyone hitting all their spots and all the high spots and all the chain wrestling and everything is fluid and there's no mistakes. It's not realistic.
But wrestling is an art form. I understand that point, but wrestling is an art form. And as part of that art that you're putting on the canvas, a lot of people expect it to be perfect.
It's because people have expectations.
How have those expectations been made, though, or been set? Because there are many times where those matches are perfect.
Somebody calling your mama?
No, not at all.
No? I don't know. For me, I just want to be entertained. And you know what? They have a good group of talent, a good group of wrestlers right now, but the characters aren't really getting over. Damian Sandow is a fantastic character right now. He's doing a great job. I honestly think Sandow and Brodus Clay should have been at SummerSlam. And I think if Brodus Clay was going to lose, he should have lost at SummerSlam to Sandow. Not on Raw. It takes away some of the heat, some of the strength of Sandow. I think they kind of dropped the ball on that. They did not need that goofy concert or whatnot. They could have put Sandow and Clay in there. But, you know, Daniel Bryan, Danielson, and CM Punk. Two fantastic athletes, two great wrestlers, two guys that are absolutely at the top of their game right now. But they didn't let those two guys headline a pay-per-view by themselves, did they? No. Who did they have? They had two of the biggest characters on the Raw brand in the Big Show and John Cena headline that pay-per-view.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Well, because they... Now, let me ask you this. Daniel Bryan now, back when him and Punk were wrestling on those pay-per-view events, could Daniel Bryan now and CM Punk now have headline? No?
No, I don't think so.
Because Daniel Bryan's evolved into a pretty tremendous character.
What? Daniel Bryan has done a fantastic job. He's definitely changed everything about him. He's incorporated. Now, I never followed him on the Ring of Honor circuit, so I don't know how he was then and there. I just know what I've seen from NXT going forward with Daniel Bryan, and he has become a fantastic talent. He's able to have a great mixture of funny ha-ha and fantastic in-ring ability.
Yeah. You know, one question as we go back to talking about these characters, look at a lot of these talents, you look at Brodus Clay, you look at Damian Sandow, you look at even the Hornswoggles, the Canes, the Undertakers, even go into TNA, you look at Eric Young, you look at ODB.
Robbie E., Curryman, Shark Boy,
the question,
Suicide.
Yeah, absolutely. The question you have to ask is, and Triple H made this point a lot of times, or not a lot of times, but in a recent interview about how it's all about personality and how if some of the people who were out there performing these roles were themselves, they would not be nearly as popular. So you have to ask, if not for a lot of those names we just talked about, what would their spot be in professional wrestling if they did not have these roles to portray? Because you can look at a Rock, you can look at a Hogan, you can look at a Steve Austin even, and a lot of the bigger names in wrestling, they were extensions of their own character for the most part. So they weren't necessarily playing a role as much as a Brodus Clay, if you will.
Brodus Clay, I mean, I think his time with Snoop Dogg has helped his character quite a bit. Wouldn't you agree?
Right on nines, yeah.
I mean, he gets the showmanship, the whole thing. It looks like he's genuinely having a good time out there.
Right.
You know, it's a genuine smile when he's in the ring.
Yeah.
But I just missed the character involvement. I mean, The Rock was a character. The Rock wasn't a great wrestler. He's not a great wrestler.
Right.
His moveset is limited. John Cena hardworking guy, limited moveset, but he's got that great character.
Hulk Hogan.
If John Cena doesn't have the rapper gimmick, he doesn't break through. Because when he first came out, he was just a guy in tights.
The prototype.
That's all he was.
Yeah.
So
a big jacked up guy in tights, yeah.
Yeah, you know, and it's like
Hogan, Warrior.
Oh, Ultimate Warrior would be Rob Terry. I don't like Rob Terry, but Rob Terry's a big jacked up guy with a limited moveset. That's what Ultimate Warrior is. Am I right? You know it's right.
Yes, you're right.
Hulk Hogan may not have a job.
Right.
Hulk Hogan may not be the immortal one. The only one that maybe would probably be Ric Flair. Because he could.
Well, Ric Flair's a great wrestler.
He's a fantastic wrestler, but he was able to harness the showmanship as well. I was talking to Shane Helms about this, and we says, you know, why do all these guys feel that they have to get all these big high spots and all these big moves, and it's no more old school? Because we're talking about the best matches we've ever seen live, and we both agree that Hogan versus Rock was fantastic because of the way they captured the audience in Toronto.
It held them here the entire night.
And it would have been so easy for them to flip the script and have Rock be the heel and Hogan the babyface, but they didn't do that. And he said that wrestling in the 80s with Hogan and Andre, the magic was a card trick. Well, now the fans have seen the card trick.
Right.
And now we need David Blaine and the street magic to keep everyone's interest. And I thought that was a pretty interesting analogy.
Yeah.
And it's pretty much dead on. That's why you have the TLC matches when the Hardys and the Dudleys and Edge and Christian and the X and the Ultimate X matches. You need the car crashes now because the fans have seen all the card tricks.
Right.
But at the same time, the fans still go crazy for the characters. If you look at the Raw 1000, who got some of the biggest pops? The legends.
Cody Rhodes, Dolph
Hacksaw Jim
Ziggler.
Duggan probably would not have a career today.
Not for that board.
Oh, even without the board, he may not be under contract.
Right.
You know, Rikishi, Sid Vicious, big guys like that. Well, Rikishi's a pretty talented guy. You know, for a giant, for a big man, he was very mobile. Sid Vicious may not have a job. He might be like Rosa Mendez's ex-boyfriend, in there for 2 or 3 weeks and fired. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Wrestling needs characters. Good, bad, or indifferent. Mean Gene Okerlund, Bobby the Brain, Captain Lou Albano would definitely not be hired today. They would not have. They would not have a 350-pound man with rubber bands hanging in his face on TV.
You know, a lot of people probably don't realize how much of a character Mean Gene Okerlund actually was. Or is.
Absolutely.
It's just not just Tutti Frutti in the couple of matches he did, but you know, it's oh my, hand in pocket, you know, Mean Gene. Yeah. And WWE is slowly getting back to a lot more of these characters, if you will.
Colorful characters back on TV.
I've got the primetime players.
Not those kind of colorful characters. Not just the regular cookie cutter guys. Look at that, Mason Ryan. Mason Ryan in the 80s would have been a big star.
Yeah.
He would have been right up there with
Iron Mike Sharp.
No, you know what I mean. I mean, Vince back then loved the big jacked up guys.
Could have put him in the Heenan family.
He would have been Hercules.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hercules had a hell of a run. Billy Jack Haynes, hell of a run. You know?
You know, that could be another feature that we do soon. You know, take some of those popular stars of the 80s and put them in. No, just put them in today's mix and try to book them in something. They wouldn't fit.
You know what? 80s versus the current. Heenan family against, you can have your Nelson. Well, I'll even let you be a manager. Because apparently there's some wrestling group down in Chicago that thinks you would be a fantastic manager in their company.
I'm well rounded. I've got talents all over the place.
It's going to be interesting.
That's Primetime Wednesday, ladies and gentlemen, and keep the discussion going. Let us know your thoughts on the importance or the non-importance of characters in professional wrestling on Twitter, at PWR Show on Twitter, and also right here on YouTube. So thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you again with a brand new edition of the Pro Wrestling Report Primetime Saturday night right here online. Thanks so much, everyone.